And if you're not surrounding yourself with people who are encouraging you to be the best you can be, you need to find yourself a new set of people to hang around, and that's the truth. Luckily, I've had a positive group of people around me. Natalie's always supported me, even though I've been a pain in the ass. I haven't been the best husband, but I'm trying. My parents just couldn't help me. No one could help me. And it wasn't until this gentleman, Jay, kind of talked about it, like the light popped in my head, and I'm sitting there crying on this rock, just crying like a baby. It's like, I sense you have a little bit of hesitation. Why is it that you're so hesitant to do a lot of things in your life? I'm like, well, I'm not really hesitant. And she goes, well, have you ever wanted to lead? I said, well, I've wanted to lead, but I've been hesitant to lead. I don't know why, but.
If it's crazy,
All right, go ahead. Go now.
Wait.
Get in there! Oh my God!
Hey guys, welcome to the Family Mess. I'm Noah, and have a nice day.
Good God!
I love the Family Mess. Oh
my God!
Welcome to the Family Mess Podcast. I'm your host, Ian, and I am alone on the Family Mess Podcast today. The podcast about life with teens and all things adulting. Let's talk. Welcome, everybody. Today I'm solo by myself. I wanted to go ahead and just finish up my podcast on the Rebirth of the Soul series. To the people who are just listening, I went on a adventure to Sedona, Arizona last year, almost like a spiritual journey to find answers to a lot of things in my life. And during the process of attending this 3-day, it wasn't a vacation, but 3-day experience or life transforming, whatever it was, I learned a lot about myself as well as people in my family. But today's episode, I wanted to speak about day 3 of my journey. Day 3, I spoke about day 1 and 2 in my previous episodes. This will be day 3, and this will be the last of the Rebirth of the Soul series before Natalie and I begin our regular podcast. But day 3 was, I believe, towards the end of last year, December 31st, it looks like here. And part of my retreat in the morning was to meet with a lady named Barbara Joy. Yes, that was her name, Barbara Joy. Most of my experiences with the counselors out there were with older women, senior citizens, probably 60s to 70s. And there was one gentleman I met towards the end of my time, which I'll talk about on this episode also. But Barbara Joy was the counselor I was supposed to meet after I did the finding myself, the breathing exercises, everything I described earlier in my previous episodes. The third day was used to kind of bring everything together. So Barbara Joy was the person I was supposed to meet to find out my soul's purpose. Now, I'm not going to lie. I thought I knew my soul's purpose. Now, your soul's purpose may be different from your actual purpose in life that you're doing right now. Like right now, I'm an engineer, but I don't necessarily want to be an engineer. And I think there's other things I probably can do to help the world be a better place. But engineering is not one of them. But I know a lot of people benefit from what I do as an engineer. But I think we are all designed to do greater things than we are right now. And so the purpose of meeting with Barbara Joy was she would sit down with you, kind of go over with you, like your soul, what she's feeling. And before I get into it, I grew up in the church, so everything I did over in Sedona was totally against what the church preaches. That's why I find my experience so amazing, is because everything they spoke against, I experienced the total opposite. I've never experienced love and clarity so much in my entire life. I've been more clear about my purpose now and who I am than ever before in my life. Anybody that's looking to really make a change in their life with anything, it doesn't matter if it's your marriage, yourself, it's really time to take a look at taking one of these. It doesn't have to be the one that I took, but something that's going to get you out of your current situation to make you look at yourself, your life, who you are, why you're here, all these questions you have about life, religion, all these things. Find help. If you want to ask me for help, give me a ring, give me an email, and I'll try to put you in the right direction, but I'm still going through my journey right now. So let's proceed forward with the description of my day. So my day began around 9:30 in the morning. And as I said earlier, the purpose was to meet Barbara to find clarity about your soul's purpose. Now, at first when she was talking, the lady was very spastic, very fast. And I was like, is she okay? One of those situations where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I gave it a chance. And the one thing that really freaked me out was she was holding like this, I don't know, it was necklace or medallion in her hand. And she kept talking to a third person as she was talking. She's like, hello, spirit. What do you think? What do you think? And she's closing her eyes. It was like she was talking to somebody as I'm sitting there. So I don't feel anything at this point. I don't feel any like demons or anything crazy like that. But the woman is actually talking to somebody. And at this point, I don't know if it's fake. I don't know if it's real. But you know what? With what I experienced in the last 2 days, I'm down for anything. So as she moves further, she has like a book, like a thick book. And she's turning pages, and in each page she has like stuff scribbled down. It looked like it was a book of notes over all the years or clients that she had, and she had all these notes. And she talked to this spirit, whatever it was, and she turned a page in her book, and then she'd find something. I think the first question she asked is, well, what it is that you think you are. And I told her, I'm like, well, I think I'm Ian. She goes, no, really, like, who are you? And I really couldn't tell her. And so the meeting went further on, and she kind of explained, we're all here repeating multiple lives. And I kind of believe in that. I kind of do believe that we're all repeating lives. And I'm Ian in this life, but in a former life, I could have been somebody else. So I've always been open to believe in that. But she went on to tell me a lot of interesting things about myself based on my stone. We each had to pick a stone in the beginning of our adventure in Sedona. So the first day we get there in introduction, we have to pick a stone. And so she takes my stone, and the stone gives off energy, your energy. And when you pick the stone is like drawn to you. So based on the stone, she would go through this list in her book, and she's going through everything. And the first thing that she says is, I see you in the past, and you are a very old soul, like extremely old. I think I took some notes here, and it said let me see. It looks like I have had like 25 previous lives. I said 25. She's like, yeah, looks like you have about 25 previous lives. So what she means is that whatever I was in one life, I passed on, came back as somebody else, passed on, and I've repeated this 25 times. And she said, one of the things I felt about you is that you're a very wise and old soul. But, that's why you feel a lot. You experience a lot. And so then the next thing she said kind of freaked me out. She goes, during your life growing up, do you feel people? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you feel people's emotions? Like, when they talk to you or when they just come into a room, can you feel them? I said, yeah, but I thought it was just me judging them because I didn't know them. She goes, no, you're not judging them. That's a gift that you have. You get to read people's emotions. People are attracted to you. They talk to you. They feel comfortable around you because you make them feel good, but you have this power. And I told her, I'm like, oh, I thought it was me being judgmental on when I was in the church. I always felt things, but I always brushed it off as I'm just judging people. So understanding that, I felt a little better. So as we continued to talk about me and what I could do, the next thing she came up with, and the whole thing freaked me out because she kept talking to this thing in third person, like, hello, spirit, what's going on with Ian? And to make a long story short, I took a couple things from her. I only met with her probably 35 minutes, maybe 40 minutes. And one of the items I took from her was I have to be creative. In my previous lives, I was a creator. I created things. I invented things. And if you ever wondered why, if you're sitting at home and you think about things a lot, is because that's who you were in your previous lives. You're an inventor. And this is the far-fetched part. She said, even in your previous life, I see you made an invention that could have changed the world, but the people in charge shut you down. They didn't want you to put it out there. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy. But at this point, anything she said, I was probably going to believe, but I took it with a grain of salt. I was having fun with it. But I do believe some of what she said. I'm not going to say I believed every single bit of it, but I do believe of what she said. And I took away one thing from her, towards the end of our time. And the one thing I took is she said, she went through this list of like religious people, and they were on the back of these cards. And at the end of the card, there was this guy, like this Indian guy. Do I have it written down here? There's like an Indian guy. And she goes, these are the people that are going to help you in life. And the first person was this religious figure. I never heard of the guy before. If I could find him, I'll probably put it up on the description. But it was some guy I've never heard of in my entire life. And the next guy was Jesus. And she goes, you know Jesus? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, you grew up in the church, as you explained. Even though you're finding the spiritual side of your life now, you know, Jesus wants you to know that you can call on him for anything that you need, which I found very ironic because I'm in a spiritual atmosphere. And yes, when we're in church, we learn about Jesus, God. But in Sedona, they don't really talk about religions. They don't talk about religions at all. Everything is spiritual, a spiritual connection with God. That's pretty much what they're getting at. And your spiritual connection is different from the person next to you and the person next to you. It's very different. So she told me, she goes, whatever you want, you can always call on Jesus and he'll be there because he's been there your whole life. And I found that very profound because during my walk with finding myself, it wasn't that I was going to just stop asking Jesus for help, but I was just going to take a different path in life, just a path on my own to find out what I wanted to find out without necessarily calling on Jesus all the time. But knowing that actually made me feel good and reassured that I could. So that made me feel like my entire life wasn't almost fully, it felt like it wasn't fully wasted. So I continued to listen to her. And at the end of it, you know, she's like, well, what is it that you've learned about your current situation in the days here? And I told her, I'm like, well, I feel like I'm designed really to do more, but I'm not sure what it is. And then she stops and she goes in her book really fast. And she's like, I sense you have a little bit of hesitation. Why is it that you're so hesitant to do a lot of things in your life? I'm like, well, I'm not really hesitant. And she goes, well, have you ever wanted to lead? I said, well, I've wanted to lead, but I've been hesitant to lead. I don't know why, but in times in my jobs and career, I've always been put in leadership positions without asking for it. Just here, you lead. And I don't know if that's just me or it has something to do with this previous life you're talking about. And the next thing she said freaked me out. So she goes, let me look a little bit further into this. And as she looks in her book, she goes, have you ever thought about being like a director or CEO of a company? And the reason that's very specific is during my thoughts about life and becoming a leader, I have thought about being the CEO of a company. I never knew how I was going to do it. I never knew how I was going to get there. And the reason I always stopped thinking about it was I was like, well, that seems so far-fetched. And I realize now that nothing is far-fetched for any of us. We can get anything we want in our lives if we believe we'll get it. We just have to believe that we'll get it. If we don't believe and we doubt that we'll get it, we'll never get it. So when she said that, I was like, how does she know that? Because that's a very specific thing I thought about. And I never really told anybody that. You know, I was very specific. And when she said that, that freaked me out a little bit. And I just kind of looked at her, didn't say nothing. But she went on to say, you know, you're a good person and you're a very old soul, but you know a lot and you want to help a lot of people. But she goes, but the one thing I see is that it's not that you're scared of success, it's that you're scared of yourself. You're very intimidated of your power and who you are. And when she said that, man, I had nothing to say. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know. I was almost mad that she said it because she kind of gave me something to talk about or to think about. And I just kind of sat there quiet. I didn't know what to say. I didn't even know how to respond. I just kind of sat there and said, wow, no one's ever really told me that before. But when she said it, I knew exactly what she was talking about. That was the weird part. Like I knew in your innermost soul, when you're thinking about who you are, sometimes your subconscious will peek out and remind you of things in the future, things that you probably don't think you can attain, but that's not true. Your subconscious makes the reality for you what it is. Not your conscious thought, but your subconscious makes your reality what it is. So if you believe you're going to pass whatever it is you're going to pass or succeed, you will succeed if you believe it. But with the current situation of our world, there's so many things that distract us from believing that we can do it. And there's so many doubters out there that believe we can make it and do what we want to do. All of us have dreams and passions. All of us have thoughts, imaginations, and from the time we're kids, we imagine creating things, inventing things, and it's not until we become teenagers and early adults is when we start getting the doubters in our mind. Oh, you can't do that. This podcast, for instance, when I first was thinking about this podcast 3 or 4 years ago, I brought it up to a friend at my job, and he's like, you shouldn't do that. You should do this, this, and this. And I remember when I told him, I felt kind of down because I'm like, well, yeah, maybe he's right. And I think a lot of us fall into that. When we have ideas, we'll bring it by a friend, and then the friend's like, nah, that's not going to work. Or the person or coworker tells you it's not going to work. And instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to do this, we just back out. And we automatically think, well, they must know that it's not going to work. So they're reaffirming the idea that it won't work because we already doubted ourselves. And that's what I've lived with my whole entire life, just doubting who I am and not being confident enough to go out to the world to get what I want. So towards the end of our time, she said, don't be afraid of who you are. Embrace it. Use your gifts to get what you want. Use your gifts to bless everybody around you. So the purpose of my soul, I learned a lot from it. I actually took some notes from it also. She gave me a lot of notes to take, and I'll probably go back and look at it sometime to see if I actually believe some of the stuff she said. But like I said, the takeaway from that was to believe in myself, utilize my gifts to read other people and to talk to them. Don't judge them, but use it and talk to them. Try to help people. And don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to try new things. And anytime you feel hesitation, you have to always ask yourself, why do I feel hesitant to go out and try this new thing or a new adventure? What's actually stopping me from doing it? Is it me? Is it maybe because something my parents wouldn't approve of, or my friends are going to look down on me? And I've learned over the last several months is I don't care what anybody thinks anymore about what I do or who I am. I just don't care. I want to do things for me. And of course, I want Natalie to be part and the kids and everybody to be part of it. So when I go out now into the world and I'm doing something, it's more clear what I want and I'm more happy. I don't feel I'm under this judgment of, constant judgment, and fear doesn't control my life anymore. I don't fear anything. I really look forward to trying new things and succeeding with everything I do. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to fail at things, but I'm not scared. I don't walk around with fear of anything. I don't fear dying. I don't fear failing. I just don't fear it anymore. Fear doesn't drive me. So when I go to church now and listen to sermons, I don't fear anything. I don't fear anything because I know who I am and I know what I want in life. And anyone that's listening to me, I'm telling you, you can do it. Every single one of you out there can do what you want to do at any time. You have to believe you can do it. And if you're not surrounding yourself with people who are encouraging you to be the best you can be, you need to find yourself a new set of people to hang around, and that's the truth. Luckily, I've had a positive group of people around me. Natalie's always supported me, even though I've been a pain in the ass. I haven't been the best husband, but I'm trying to do things differently. I'm trying to react differently to situations. I'm telling you, even when we argue now, I don't even yell. I talk to her. I tell her how I feel. And if I feel like yelling, I just take a couple deep breaths. And then the argument's finished. I may argue a couple hours here and there, but for the most part, I don't take anything personally anymore because it's not personal. It's not who I am. I've created a new version of myself that's still adapting to what I've experienced over the last several months. And I'm still learning. I'm still learning to figure out this new skin of mine and observe everything around me and feel and be in the moment at all times. It's very hard to be in the moment, but we have to observe who we are, where we are, and what we're doing every single minute of the day to be in the moment instead of just going out in the world and just not noticing anything, experiencing anything. Be in the moment. Notice your friends, your family. Things aren't always the best in life. Your situation, your current situation might not be the best, but it doesn't mean you have to give up. So a couple of you have probably noticed I've reached out to you and called you on the phone to try to tell you about my adventures and what I've done. So I hope I haven't talked to you to death too much. But the clarity of the soul, the purpose of the soul was I think it was the fourth course I took. And that gave me a lot to take home with, because once I figured out my purpose, I felt a little more clear. I felt like I didn't just have to be an engineer or be a chaplain or be a personal trainer. All these things that I kind of love in my life, those don't define who I am in my soul. That doesn't define what my soul is and who I really am. Those are just things I do. And I think all of us are designed, and we're all connected. We're all designed to help each other and to bless each other and to uplift each other. So I took a lot of items from that class. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure all this out. I don't have answers to everything, but I'm trying. So the next, that was probably in the morning, 9 to 10:30 it says here. So that's about an hour and a half. And the last session of the day that I went to experience it was called Opening to Love on the Land with Jay. And Jay was, let me see his last name. Jay Rothman. Jay Rothman was like an older man. He moved to Sedona years before. The backstory with him is he told me that he used to live this almost like, I wouldn't say rock star life, but he used to, I think, be in sales. He used to have the big house, the mansion, the cars, everything. I think something happened to him and he ended up getting a heart attack, almost like a near-death experience. And he had to change. And then when he came to, he realized he wasn't happy in his current situation. He just wasn't happy. He realized all these material things he had, and he was miserable. The sports cars, the mansion, he was still empty. So the idea of this class with him was to go out on the actual trail in the mountains and to walk around and to talk. Literally, we were just talking about my life, why I was there, and what I really need to do to get in touch with the me that's been missing my entire life. And at first the conversation was just general talk about what I'm doing. But as we walked on the trail more, and this is done on purpose, I think, looking back at it, as we walked on the trail more, it got to a point where I was almost revealing myself without even knowing it. Just, I'm sad my dad didn't treat me the best. I was hoping I could work out things with him, but over the years it just seemed to get worse. My mom, she is not doing the best also. So I have two parents that are very, very religious parents, grew up in the Pentecostal church, and they are the most miserable people I've ever met in my life. It's very sad because they pray so much, and the religion has taught them that to live in fear means you have to be perfect, you have to do the right things. But they've taken it to a point where they don't even enjoy life, either of them. My mom is like secluded herself in her house, her apartment now, and I try to help her, but she fears everything. She fears her own skin, and she's so skinny because she just fears she doesn't eat. All the fear and anxiety is in her body. She's put all that stress into her body, so now she doesn't have an appetite. And she goes to the doctor a lot and a lot of medicine. And I'm torn apart because I try to help her and she just doesn't know what to do. So, my sister and I try to help her, but it's the religion. You ask her about prayer and she doesn't even know sometimes who she's praying to. She prays, but I don't even know how she believes. So it's tough. It's tough watching her struggle like that. My dad, on the other hand, he's an angry asshole. I love him to death, and I can say that about him, but he's just a stubborn old man, just very stubborn. And he's the totally opposite. He was a preacher of a church for years, and he gave up his old family for church. So he's the totally opposite. So religion has caused him to, he says he loves God. He's prayed his entire life as kids, but he ignored us. Our whole, kids growing up in high school, didn't do anything for us, really. I mean, he kind of was a provider, but he wasn't there emotionally for us. He was there for the church, but he wasn't there for us. So he took the totally opposite role in religion. So he believes God's going to come back, take the church, all these ideas. And I told him, I was like, well, God, I was like, well, what makes you think God's going to take you and leave us when you don't love anybody? You know, it's very strange. But the whole idea I just told you is that when you grow up in an atmosphere like that, you kind of don't know who you are. You just kind of try to make it in that situation and try to do what you can just to make it and get out of there. But what happens is, even though you get out of there, all the things your parents did and said to you are kind of stuck inside you till you can get it out and accept who you are and move on into the world without worrying about fear. So fear is what controls pretty much all our emotions, or most of our emotions. Is the root of it is fear. Fear of disappointing our friends, fear of staying in a relationship, fear of going back into a relationship or coming out of a relationship, fear of disappointing our kids. That's a big one. Staying in a relationship because you want the kids to be sad and not looking out for your own happiness or your well-being. So there's a lot of things that go into play. And so this class with this gentleman, Jay, was about getting in touch with the inner me. He gave myself a nickname called Little Ian, but getting in touch with Little Ian, and this was probably I thought I cried a lot in the first couple of days, but I actually started crying here because he sat me down. We went to this place in Iraq, and I think we did like this spiritual thing where you make a circle on the ground and then you pray to God, ask him to help, but it's very spiritual in nature. And as I'm sitting there and just sitting on this rock, I just start crying because I don't know myself. At this point, I've had some awakenings, but when he said you have to find yourself, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think no one's ever challenged me to find myself before, ever. And I started to cry because I didn't know who I was. But when he said you got to find yourself, I knew exactly what he was talking about, because my entire life, there was a version of myself that was like this little boy, 10-year-old boy that was just stuck inside of me, always wanting to come out. And I explained in my previous episodes, that little person was the one that was reacting in the last several years of my life. That was the reason for my anger, outburst, insensitivities, snapping at Natalie, the kids, just a lot of anger and hurt and pain. It was the little boy that was inside of me. And I didn't know this until you said it. I just sat there. I was like, oh my God, I know that little boy, because I felt that little boy for so many years, but I just put him away. And I just started to cry because I can't believe I put that version of me away. And that version of me is a part of me. And that was how I grew up. You know, that version of me is what I found out later is when I really got hurt in life, is that 10, 11-year-old version of me. And I was just crying out for help. And my parents just couldn't help me. No one could help me. And it wasn't until this gentleman, Jay, kind of talked about it, like the light popped in my head, and I'm just sitting there crying on this rock, just crying like a baby. Very emotional. I'm getting a little emotional now, and I didn't think I'd get like this, but that little Ian, once I realized what I was doing, I felt bad because I didn't mean to ignore him. I didn't mean to just leave him alone in the dark place where he was, and he just wanted to be loved the entire time, and that's what it was. The Ian right now that I'm talking is a different Ian, but back then, that Ian didn't realize he was actually searching his whole life, searching for that little Ian his entire life. And that's what I found when I went to Sedona. Was I said I was going to go there in search of something. I didn't know what it was when I first started these episodes. I didn't know what I was searching for, but I knew I would find it when I actually found it. And it was me I was searching for. That's the irony of this, is I was searching for something, but the something that I was searching for was me the entire time. It was there. There was nothing I had to search for. It was there the whole time. But when I actually accepted it and accepted me for who I was, and this little version of myself inside my soul that's been trying to come out for such a long time, and when I finally let it out, it felt so good, because I felt like a huge burden was being lifted off my entire spirit. Like just the whole world was just lifted off me out, and I accepted me for who I was. and it felt so good. I just talking about it now, I just can't believe I went through that. It seems unreal at times, but I look at it and realize I think every one of us needs to find that version of ourselves. Maybe not as emotional as mine, but every person listening, and there's a version of yourself that you know is inside that wants to come out and wants to enjoy the world and do so many things. The only advice I can give you is don't be afraid to let that soul out. That soul is inside. Don't hold the barriers that you put up. You got to put those barriers down because it will eat away at your life until you die. I don't know what else to tell you. Find it, love it. Tell yourself you love yourself every single day, starting now. You're loved, you're blessed, and you can do nothing wrong. God loves you all the time. It doesn't matter what the church tells you. It doesn't matter what the Bible tells you. I'm telling you, God loves you for who you truly are, and that's a powerful being that he created. So that's the way I live my life now, is knowing that God loves me, and that's it. I don't care about nothing. God loves me. That's how I live my life. I enjoy my friends more. I enjoy my family more. I enjoy Natalie a whole lot more. She says she doesn't even recognize me anymore because I'm just this different person. But it's not, I guess I'm a different person, but I think it was just somebody that was there the whole time trying to come out. But when you actually experience this change, it's going to change you forever. You don't view, even people in public, you don't view everybody the same. Not everybody's an asshole anymore. Coworkers that are usually mean. You don't care about that stuff. You view people as souls trying to find their way. And so when you view the public around you as souls also searching, it becomes a little bit easier to digest who they are and the path they're moving towards. But that was the end of my last day in Sedona, and that is the end of the Rebirth of the Soul series. I really thank you guys for going on this adventure with me. I probably left out some details, but if you see me in person, please feel free to talk to me about what I went through. I do have a couple phone numbers of the place. If you're interested in going there, let me know. I have phone numbers. I think I have some cards too of individuals I met there. But whatever it is, let me know what you guys want to do, want to talk about. If you see me in person, you can ask me anything about what I went through. It doesn't matter what it is. It does not matter what it is. You can ask me. I'm an open book. I am free. So ask me anything you want to ask me. But if you want to listen to these podcasts on anything, you can listen to it on any of the streaming platforms. Right now, we're mostly on Spotify, I think iHeartRadio, Spreaker. I think we were on Google. I think Google may have changed the format, but all the streaming formats were on the Family Mess podcast. So please download the episode, download and subscribe. And like I said, if you see me, reach out to me, talk to me, text me, call me. But if I don't see you guys or hear from you guys soon, I want you guys to have a blessed day. And I love you and God loves you. Take care. Bye.
Get in there! Oh my God!
Hey guys, welcome to the Family Mess. I'm Noah, and have a nice day.
Good God!
I love the family mess. Oh!